I can't say that because I bought 50 shares of Apple. So I want you to be extremely satisfied with the product you purchased.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go live again because the video's out.
The video is out.
So I'm gonna have to
It's streaming. I'd hit live
do
again.
it.
Let's go.
Give it a minute so we can all share it. So yeah, it's live, like it's showing us.
Nice. We look good. What is it?
All right.
Wait a minute. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we look like that?
Welcome, PI Nation. You're listening to the Politically Incorrect Podcast. Here are your hosts, Matt, Evaldo, and Deshaun.
Hey, man. Welcome, everybody. What's going on? I hope everybody had a wonderful week. I'm here with my co-hosts, Matt Camara, Evaldo Barros, and we've got some interesting topics today. What's up, fellas?
What's going on?
I'm good. How's everybody else doing?
Fantastic.
Good.
I'm excited to be doing another show. And if you're watching, excuse some of the new green screen effects because we're just getting into this. So we got to perfect it. But all right, let's get into some of our topics today, shall we?
Let's do it.
So Amy Barrett, Supreme Court Justice nominated by our president-elect. I'm going to let Matt take this away a little bit.
Take it away, Matt.
I mean, we kind of knew that this was coming. So it was great that President Trump finally announced his nomination. It's a great pick for a lot of reasons. One, as she stated, she loves America. She loves the Constitution. And if you're going to be a Supreme Court justice, you need those two things at least, right? Because your job is to uphold the Constitution, right? You're a checks and balances for the rest of the government. So it's very important that we have people in there that actually believe in the Constitution, that love the Constitution, that love this country. What a detriment it would be to have somebody who doesn't have either of those things. But the other thing is she's going to have I would say the Democrats are actually going to have a real hard time with her because as good as Kavanaugh was, there was room for the Democrats to kind of scheme their way and to try to not get him nominated, right? One, he's a male, so it's a lot easier to push those sexual allegations against him as opposed to doing it on a female. And here's a woman, she has a strong marriage, she is Catholic, so that's going to be something that you're going to see these politicians go after, is her Catholic faith, because they don't want people in there. They don't want people in there with any religious beliefs, let's be honest. The Democrat Party hates God, and they hate the things that God stands for. So that's going to be a point of contention when it comes to Democrats. But other than that, she's got a clean record. There's really nothing they can pin on her. She's got a great family, a rather large family. I think 7 kids, I believe, total.
Yeah.
2 of those kids are adopted Haitians. So that's going to be something interesting because I'm already seeing Twitter posts about how she did that for political gain. There's actually people who believe that she adopted 2 Haitian kids for political gain, which is unbelievable. But that's really kind of like what the Democrats are going to try to do.
Discredit her.
Right. They can't find anything else on her, so they're going to go after her children and her family. I saw another Twitter post where they were basically going after her because she has a good family. She has an intact family. She has what we would describe as a nuclear family. But I think it's a great pick. It's a strong pick. I don't have anything negative to say on her. Trump knows what he's doing. Good pick.
Yeah.
When are they voting?
Senator Graham said that they're going to start the nomination process on October 12th. It should be quick. You know, I don't think it's going to be long and drawn out like the Kavanaugh process was, because that, you got to remember, was drawn out because of those sexual allegations. So they had to do FBI investigations and things like that, and I don't think you're going to see that with this pick. Very good pick on his part. Obviously, the other backlash is going to be the fact that Democrats don't want a justice nominated during an election year, which, if we go back during the Obama presidency, he did nominate Garland, who also accepted the nomination during an election year. So I think those are some of the things that you're going to see with this nomination.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of backlash from the Democratic Party specifically because she supports the nuclear family in her own personal life just by living, So not only is she standing up for, quote unquote right wing principles, but she says here that she was a professor at law at the Notre Dame Law School, where she taught civil procedure, constitutional law, and statutory interpretation. So she's very informed on what she's doing.
Right.
She's not just somebody that just came out of the woodwork, and she actually has a hold on the law in this country and not trying to use it as a way for technicality's sake. If that makes sense.
The other big issue is going to be obviously Roe versus Wade, because there's a lot of people speculating that this may be the turning point where we may actually begin to start overturning Roe versus Wade.
I was going to ask about that. That is a contention.
So I can't say for sure that that's something that would happen. My opinion is going to remain the same as it's been for a long time now, and the fact that I don't have any expectation of Roe versus Wade being overturned. If it happens, that's great, but that's not my expectation, and I'm not going into this thinking that she's going to be elected or nominated and go through this process, and then that's what's going to happen. I think as Christians we should continue to fight for against abortions and fight for the babies, but I don't know. That's just my gut feeling. I don't know if that's actually going to be something that the Supreme Court's going to overturn.
I agree with you. I don't have any expectations for that either. I would rather see it done by changing people's hearts. Right?
Yeah.
I'd rather see that than force people by changing the law, which we know is not going to go over well.
No.
I agree.
I agree with that. Now, what's interesting is that they try to discredit her with saying by using her religious background. Can you lower me a little bit, Yvonne? I feel like I'm really loud. I don't know. But they try to discredit her on her religious background. She's just a Catholic.
Right. So that's the thing is Democrats will always push this narrative that because she's a Catholic, but then you'll have people like Nancy Pelosi that claims she's a Catholic, right? So it kind of doesn't make sense. To me, again, it's just they can't really get anything on her, so they're grasping at straws. So they're going to go after her Catholic faith. It was the same thing when John F. Kennedy was running for president.
Yeah.
They were so concerned that because he was a Catholic that he was going to do what the Vatican says. And honestly, I don't think most Catholics aren't even good Catholics. So never mind the idea that you're going to have U.S. officials that are going to be taking commands from the Catholic Church. But again, their major concern with her is the whole abortion thing. And that's what you're going to see them really trying to push is that, again, she's going to turn over Roe versus Wade. She's going to be the deciding factor for that. So they're going to play into the fears because if you've seen it firsthand, Deshaun, how crazy these people get when it comes to abortion rights. You know, a lot of these people they're fanatical about it when it comes to their ability to be able to kill their own children.
Yeah.
So.
And we'll see what they try to bring up next. I don't think it's going to be anything that's going to have any significance. But according to the Democratic Party, being a Catholic is a problem in this case because it's a Catholic who's in power. Yeah,
but again, at this point, we know that it's not just being a Catholic. It's just being a Christian in general because if you're a true Christian and you're following what the Word of God does, there's going to be a lot of contentious points there if you're a Democrat. You know, I'm very serious in the saying and when I say that it's very hard or pretty much impossible to be a real Christian and be a Democrat at this point. Because, again, you're not... Democrats today are not the Democrats of JFK. They're not. JFK believed was anti-abortion. Okay? But today's Democrats don't see it that way. They're not. There's no real moderate Democrats anymore. You know, they've all become pretty much far left.
Yeah.
You know.
And what's funny is that you have a Supreme Court nominee who is qualified to be in that position, given her credentials and given her background with the law, and the fact that she has some sort of dignity seems to irritate the Democratic Party in some kind of
Well,
way.
yeah, she's got a good family, right?
Yeah, and that to me is unfortunate because with the racial tensions in this country, given of late, and seeing that this Supreme Court justice has adopted so-called, you know, they want to discredit that as well, that she's adopted two Haitian, as you said before, two Haitian, I think his daughters, one daughter, one son, I think it was.
Yes, yep.
Yep. So that just goes to show you, and the family is predominantly white. You know, it's a
Right.
predominantly white family, and yet they have two black, you know, sons and daughters that they've adopted. And I hate to bring in race to this, but race seems to be a massive topic now. So let's really talk about that. That if America is so racist, if America is so anti-minority, then why is somebody who's going to have extreme power when it comes to checks and balances, they have two significant parts of their lives that contribute to their day-to-day experience here in America?
I think the left would tell you that it's not America that's racist. It's the institutions.
Well, isn't the institutions
No.
American?
Because the angle now is you can't really say nobody's going to buy into the fact that actual Americans are racist because we've come so far. And you just know that by the climate of Americans. You just get around people. You realize that most people are really just decent people. They just want to live their lives. So what they do now is just say that the institutions, the laws, the way the system's been set up has always been racist, and we can't get away from that until we tear it down and build it back up. So that's the new angle.
But they can't even give examples of institutional racism or systemic racism.
Well, that's the point. The point is to always have a straw man.
Right.
Just keep saying it's just racist, so let's tear it down. You know, it's just, and not give any actual facts.
Yeah.
And run with that. So I think so. For someone like her, what they're gonna do is they're gonna say, well, you know, she's probably not racist as a person, but the way that she's operating her political system, by being in that party and by having those ideas, she can't help herself but institute racist policies into her political agenda. So that's how they would. That's how I feel like they do it,
Yeah.
just to keep this thing going.
Yeah. Well, like I had
No.
mentioned earlier, there's already people attacking those children,
Yeah.
and saying that they were adopted for political reasons.
For political
So,
reasons, yeah.
which makes absolutely no sense. But
And you know, and speaking of race, you know, this talk about defunding the police officers and everything, I'm not sure if you guys heard, but the Austin Police Department was defunded. Most of their funds have been redacted. They've been retracted. Retirements, salaries, pensions, all gone.
Yeah.
And the Austin Police Department, I actually shared this on Facebook if anybody who wants to go look at it. The Austin Police Department just pretty much said, we won't be there when your child's in trouble, when your home gets broken into, when things that happen to you specifically and you need justice, you need help. They won't be there because you took everything from them. You took their livelihood.
I mean, I don't blame them. I really don't. If you're the Austin Police Department, you should be resigning and looking for employment elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't feel bad for these cities and communities that are defunding their police. My opinion, let them burn. Let these Democrats burn their own cities. I really don't care.
Yeah.
Like New York City, where they took, what is it, $1 billion away from the New York Police Department, and then they're having record crime right now.
Yeah.
I don't feel sorry for them, and it's not the responsibility of the rest of the country to pay for that.
So I want to read a little bit of the letter that I posted. So it goes on to say, for those of you in Austin, it is a very sad day in Texas for everyone who visits our great capital city of Austin. God bless Austin PD. From an Austin police officer after being gutted today, he goes on to say, dear community, and I'm just going to read a small portion of it. He says, we have served with the best of our ability for many years. We have missed anniversaries, birthdays, funerals, sports, and many other things so we could be there for you. When you called, we came. When you were being victimized, we stepped in and stopped it. I'm not going to go on and read the rest of the letter, but I will say that, you know what, I think that it's very, very unfortunate how, you know, one view can come into play, and everybody wants diversity and inclusion, and this is what the left always talk about, and yet nobody seems to even have any empathy for the police at this point. And it's almost hypocritical to say that, because they're always talking about how you need to be empathetic and how you have to put yourselves in other people's shoes and be inclusive and have diversity, and yet that doesn't seem to be happening with the police department. And some people say that's obvious, Deshaun. Look what's going on. But it's really sad, because that's what the left is all about, right? About being empathetic, about being inclusive and having diversity and having discord. But of course, we all know that's not right. That's just a facade.
Their actions are always the opposite of what they preach.
Right. Well, because they really don't want inclusion and diversity. That's just again a smokescreen. What they want is to tear down the police system. They want to tear down the system. I think we have to come to a point and just realize that we're not going to be able to reason with them.
No.
Nope.
They want to tear down the system. You've heard Don Lemon on CNN say, just blow up the system and build it back up.
Yeah, burn it down, right?
Yeah, burn it down.
They want to replace police departments with Black Lives Matter militias, right?
Yep.
That's unfortunate, man.
And really, it's amazing because when you look at Black Lives Matter, their organization, they're funded by millionaires. So their corporation and those that are funding it, they want political change away from the top. They want a worldwide political change. So that's why they push it the way they do.
I don't know if you guys saw, but speaking of being funded, but there was a Black Lives Matter protest right after the Breonna Taylor conclusion there. There happened to be a U-Haul truck that was filled with signs already made and shields, riot shields, just happened to be where the protesters were going to be. So there's no doubt that these people are being funded. They're being set up with the stuff that they need for the protesting so that they can go out and cause trouble. How else would these protesters have known that there would be a random U-Haul there full of riot shields and things of that nature? So you're absolutely right. They're funded, and we've talked about it on the show how their marketing is great, good intention. However, they're not being used for how they should be used, and it's really sad.
Yeah, the idea of Black Lives Matter is good because it does, just like anybody's life matter. But the institution itself is a political institution. It's organized by billionaires who want politically global change. Actually, they want global political change. So this is an arm of them to try to get to that.
Yeah. So I mentioned Breonna Taylor. What do you guys think of that conclusion?
Well, did you guys hear Charles Barkley and Shaq talk against it? Or
I did. I'll let you talk about it.
So they were on the Inside the NBA, their NBA show, and Charles Barkley was saying that the Breonna Taylor situation was not the same as George Floyd. So he was pretty much dropping some truth behind it, saying that she was just involved, with people that she should not have been with, and that her death, although it was unfortunate, it's not the same thing as what they're claiming it to be. And he caught a lot of backlash on Twitter for it, and so did Shaq. Shaq was saying along the same lines the same thing.
Yeah. I'll add to that. The Daily Wire came out. The Daily Wire came out with an article. Charles Barkley blasts fools pushing defund the police.
Yep, he
we
also
are
said
black
that.
people. Who are black people supposed to call? Ghostbusters? So he's pretty much stating, in most of the cities that need policing, some of the communities, the neighborhoods, it's the black communities.
Right.
They need policing. So he's pretty much saying, who are they going to call? Ghostbusters? Because there's going to be nobody left to go out there.
Right. Yep. And I'm going to be very curious to see how it works out in Austin, because I can guarantee it's probably not going to work out pretty well. Just like what we're seeing in New York City and what you've seen in Minneapolis and in other places like Portland and things like that, where it's heavily liberally controlled.
Yeah. So Barkley says, quote for quote, he says this. He says, so that notion, they keep saying that, I'm like, wait a minute, we're just going sick. Who are black people supposed to call? Ghostbusters when we have crime in our neighborhoods. Barkley continued on to say, we need police reform, but like I said, white people, and especially rich white people, they're always going to have cops. So we need to stop that defund and abolish the cops crap.
Right, yeah, because he's right, because all the rich people that are pushing for abolish the police, they got money to hire their own security guards. They got money to build the high walls and fences to keep their communities and their homes safe. But who are the people that are going to suffer, right? The people that are in low-income neighborhoods that don't have the ability to protect themselves. Maybe they don't have the ability to get firearms legally based on their past or whatever. They need police. Your average middle-income people need police. You know, I don't have money to hire security guards in a 10-foot wall installed in my house, you know, around my house. So it's crazy who the people are that are calling for this, you know.
And I love Charles Barkley because he says things, he doesn't care what he gets for backlash.
Right.
He doesn't care what anybody thinks. He just says whatever on his mind, whatever he thinks.
I'm
I
actually
love him.
surprised that Shaquille O'Neal backed him up.
Did you know
I
that
didn't-
Shaquille O'Neal was he's been a volunteer police department, I think, for
I
a
did,
couple of
yeah. I
so he's been
didn't.
deputized.
So that's probably why he probably has.
Yeah.
He understands how it works. But I was kind of surprised that he backed it. I know Charles Barkley will always speak his mind, but
And he also caught backlash to Shaquille O'Neal, that is. He's a spokesperson for Papa John. Remember
Okay.
Papa
Yeah.
John having that controversy where the owner was, the CEO said the word,
yeah.
said the N-word.
Yep.
And he still, you know, went on with it, even though he caught backlash. So once in a while, those guys will surprise you. They
Yeah.
got some common sense.
I'll
there.
tell you what didn't surprise me, but it's shocking that he came out. The Rock ended up endorsing Joe Biden.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, it's no surprise. It's just sad. It's just sad. It's just another example of somebody that's out of touch. And
Yeah, I think when you're that privileged, I think you just want popular opinion to be on your side.
all right.
I think you don't want any quote unquote negative clout coming to you. You want as much positivity.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I just had high hopes because he just invested in the XFL, and I was really
XFL,
hoping.
that's right.
I was really hoping to be able to watch some football, because I am not watching the NFL at all.
Yeah.
So it would have been nice, but I feel like XFL is probably gonna go. Maybe I can stick. Maybe I could do college football.
I want some of these other sports to take off, like
Yep.
something else, like the XFL or something, to
Yep.
take off to replace the NFL.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
That would be nice.
Be nice. Yeah.
The ratings actually have been abysmal for basketball, and isn't it their playoffs?
Yeah, tell us what you think about. Comment then, whoever's watching. What do you think about the views and how, news stations are getting more views than the NBA?
Yeah, to my guy Tucker Carlson, great to watch. Honestly, I know a lot of people will comment against us and say, "Oh, you get your info from Fox." I honestly don't really watch Fox. Every once in a while, I'll catch Tucker Carlson, maybe Sean Hannity here and there, but I really don't get my news from Fox News either. But it was good to see that Tucker Carlson had higher ratings and views than the NBA playoffs did.
Wow.
Great.
I'm not really watching the NBA playoffs. I mean, I might catch a game here and there, but I really don't. I don't really want to watch it,
Yeah.
just because I just can't stand it.
The NFL. You don't watch the NFL? Is that what you're saying? Or the
Or
NBA?
the NBA. You know what I mean?
I'm not-
watch it when
yeah.
I watch
catch a
the
game.
NBA. I just ignore all that social justice
Yeah,
stuff.
I don't know, man.
I still enjoy it. I kind of think about them as like if you're dating a super hot model and she says a lot of dumb stuff, you just ignore it because she's super hot. And that's how just entertain me.
I mean,
You're good at what you do. When you start talking, I just ignore you because you're not making any sense.
I'm not into cancel culture, so I'm not going to sit here and tell people that they can't watch the NFL. But that's my personal choice.
Yeah.
I'm tired of the NFL. Overpaid athletes. I'm tired of them being political. I never go to my job and start protesting because I hate liberal laws en masse. I just feel like they should do their job, be quiet. And after the game's over, then they can go protest and support whoever they want. I could care less. But since they want to make it political, they want to do black national anthems, and then they want to cut out the actual national anthem, things like that. I'm all set.
Yeah.
So
Did you guys hear the Black National Anthem? What was it?
I didn't.
I didn't. I don't watch
gotta go
NFL,
see
so
what it
I don't
is.
know what it
I've
is.
heard of it on another show. What it was? It's actually a good song, that's patriotic and written by a Republican, but they turned it in. They're calling it the Black National Anthem now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do it, man. It's just annoying at this point. But I mean,
I hear you.
it's so funny because, I don't think this is funny, but I'm just saying you have other cases. Like I remember a while back we were talking about a kid who got killed in front of his sisters,
Right.
and now there's another kid
Yep.
who's been killed.
And of course, the headline of this was gunman kills 4-year-old. And just based on that title alone, you already know what it was. I didn't even have to look at it. Actually, Deshaun asked me who the killer was, and I had to pull it up to see what it was. But I already knew. So the reason why you're going to see that headline is because it's another case in which it doesn't fit the media's narrative. So that's why they're not bringing race, because it does. If it was a white man that went into a black family's home
Yep.
and shot up the family and then executed the child, like what happened,
Nazi, KKK,
right?
white
It
supremacist.
would have been white supremacist kills black family. But because it's the other way around and doesn't fit any narrative, it's just simply gunman, which is how it should be. But that should be how it is for every case.
Yes. So really what Matt's insinuating is that it was a black gunman who gunned down a 4-year-old kid in cold blood.
Yeah.
Right. So the mother actually begged him not to shoot the kid and shot the kid twice in the head while she was holding the kid.
Yeah. The media now is very narrative driven, so there's no more actual reporting of what actually happened.
And I'll be honest with you, the only reason why I found that articles was through Twitter and through some conservative people that I follow. I never even heard of this on the news. So it just happened to catch me as I was going through Twitter and some of the people that I do get my news from, and it just happened to be there. I probably wouldn't have known about it had it not been for that.
And just in regards to Fox News, whoever criticizes you about watching Fox News, they're even a narrative driven. They shut off Newt Gingrich, who was talking about George Soros.
Right.
They shut him down.
Yep.
So they wouldn't let him talk about George Soros in a negative light. So, really, you're right. Don't look at us. Oh, we just watch Fox News. We don't trust Fox News 100%.
Yep.
They've got people that pull their strings too.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I get my news from people that I typically, from people who I don't agree with all the time. So if you're following people that just agree with you all the time, then you're probably not going to learn anything. So I'll follow people like Ben Shapiro, who has many times in the past. I don't always agree with everything he says, and that's good because it makes me research. It makes me look at things in a different perspective. So that's my advice for people that want to get into this stuff. Start following some people that are using more common sense than just political ideology, especially on the left. If you're following people who are just on the left, they're pushing all these things that they don't even really believe in themselves. It's really hard for me to believe that Nancy Pelosi, who's been in office for 500 years, that she all of a sudden believes in things like defund the police.
Yeah.
That
That's a good point, Matthew.
she all of a sudden believes in rioting and looting,
That's a good
and
point.
that's a cause for justice.
Yeah.
They go with whatever is going to keep them in power and satisfy those people that keep them in power. Actually, too, like even when you look at corporations and companies, they don't really care about a lot of the agendas they push.
Yeah.
All they care about is, am I going to make my money? And a lot of the agendas they push that we probably don't agree with, they're being backed by people that fund them to push those agendas. And as
Right.
long as they push them, even though they may lose clients, they're going to stay in business. Like, for instance, you notice during these COVID-19 shutdowns, all the little small and mom and pop places have been shut down, but these major corporations have not been shut down. All your
Right.
Walmarts have been open. All these big corporations are still open. Why? Because the people that have a COVID-19 agenda are saying, don't worry, we'll keep you in shape, we'll keep you funded. Just go along with all these, requirements or laws we're coming up with.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
you know,
Yeah.
the
I
politicians
never.
are the same way.
That's a good point because as a person who's going to open up a business, I mean, the most stupid thing that you can do is alienate 50% of your clientele, right?
Yeah.
So there has to be something.
Something is backing
some
them.
incentive, right, to
Exactly.
back them up to make it worthwhile for them to lose 50. If I'm owning a business and I have to rely on my clientele without backing, you better believe that I'm not going to be
Just
pushing.
look at the NFL. Just kneeling and doing all the stuff that they're doing now. They've already alienated more than 50% of their viewers. So why would they do that if they're a company that's trying to make money? Because somebody's
Right.
in their pockets.
And just keep in mind that this is the same NFL that bashed and fined Tim Tebow for kneeling and praying to God. This is the same NFL
Yep.
that fined RG3, Robert Griffin III, for wearing a Jesus T-shirt during a press conference and made him pull it inside out so that Jesus wouldn't be shown on the NFL. This is the same NFL that wouldn't allow players to wear these slain cops on their helmets, but yet they're okay with putting a rapist on their helmets. You know, that's
Man.
why I'm so done with them.
They're always trying to get rid of Jesus.
That's right.
Man.
Yeah, I guess. What did Jesus ever do to them, huh? But love them. That's hilarious.
So what else is going on, guys?
So, was there a presidential debate?
It's coming up on Tuesday.
29th.
So
should be a
Biden
good
is
time.
going to debate Trump.
I
That's
guess
what's going down?
if you can call it that. I think it's going to be pretty funny.
You
I
think
mean,
Joey's going to sleep at them?
Probably the guy can't even campaign past 9:30 a.m.
No.
Right?
Trump
Yeah.
wants him drug tested
Yeah.
because they're going to try to give him uppers, I think.
I think that's what they did to Hillary.
They're going to do everything they can to try to help him out. Give him drugs, give him questions.
The guy,
Sleepy
Joe,
yeah, the guy needs a
Sleepy
teleprompter
Joe.
for everything. I think all the interviews he's been having lately, he's had a teleprompter with him.
Didn't you screw up the Pledge of Allegiance the other day?
Yes, he
What did he
did.
say?
I sent you guys
Did you
the.
catch it? What did he say?
I did. Let me see if I can pull it up and I'll play it for
While he's pulling that up.
that show. Let me see. Who did I send it to?
Oh, while he's pulling that up, if you're a gamer, pre-order the PS5. Comment your station, Xbox or PlayStation. This is a big console generation release. And if you're a gamer, I'm sure you're excited. This is an exciting time. For sure.
And
For
if you're
sure.
watching too, go tell everybody you know and your mama to go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Get our subscription up there. We want to reach 100, okay?
Destroy the like button, please.
Yes. Hit the like button and hit the subscription button.
That's
I'll have
right.
to look for it, but it's here somewhere.
I think he said something to pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And then he said something. What did he say? He said something slang. He threw a slang in there or something.
Yeah, it was. I'm gonna bring it up. You guys can. I'll pause you
Now,
guys.
did he
when I
do
find
that
it.
on purpose or did he
I
misquote?
think he probably just messed up and was just trying to act funny or something. I'm not sure.
That's what it sounds like.
That's
And from what I hear with people that are familiar with family members that have dementia, that's
Mm-hmm.
a sign of onset dementia.
yes.
When you mess up
Nah,
or
that
screw
didn't
something
work.
up and then you kind of play it off.
Well, I think, the onset of dementia is somebody who begins to forget a lot. So, usually it's short-term memory loss.
Yeah.
That's the beginning stages, and then it furthers on to long-term memory
Man.
loss.
I think I might be getting that. Sometimes I feel like my brain's overwhelmed and I just forget stuff.
So, you know what? I think, for somebody who's going into a presidential debate, I would make sure Biden drink lots of coffee. But
Coffee?
yeah,
You think so?
get an espresso, buddy. You'll need it.
Hot or ice?
I think I'll give him my I don't know if he likes Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts.
But won't
not
that
real
make him
coffee.
go to the bathroom a lot so he'll have to run off the stage?
Yeah, he
It's
might.
a diuretic.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it sure is. Sure is.
Speaking of that, did you guys see Jerry Nadler?
Jerry
That
Nadler.
handsome guy? No.
No. Apparently, he was at a live press conference with Nancy Pelosi, and he started to shuffle off. And the way that he was walking, it was like a penguin. So everybody's kind of suspecting that he kind of went in his pants. Oh man, I gotta find that
Yo,
too.
he's smart though. He's
He
the
Hershey
smartest one
squirted
out
in
of
his
all of them.
pants.
You know why though? Because when they did that, remember when they dressed up in
Yeah.
the daishiki? He was the only one that didn't kneel because he knew he couldn't get back up. Everybody else knelt. You see people trying to pick up Nancy Pelosi off the flight. He's like, I'm not going
Yeah.
down.
I mean,
I'm staying up.
it's funny to talk about. At the same time, it's sad because these people have been in office so long that they get to the point where they actually need diapers to do their job.
Yeah. We
You
need
know?
some fresh people running for office. If you're in Rhode Island, go vote for our man, Nathan Melvin. He's running for office in Rhode Island. Vote for that man. We need some young, fresh conservatives in there with some common sense
That's a fact.
that are going to bring this country further along where we need to be
That's a fact, sir.
instead of regressing the way we are.
That is
Let's
a
see, I
fact.
got Joe Biden here. Let me see what he says. Let's have Joe Biden do the Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, one nation, indivisible, under God, for real.
That's what he said, for real. For real.
For real.
Oh man, that,
You ain't black if you don't vote for
man,
me.
that debate. Joe, whatever they're paying you, it ain't enough. It ain't enough. You're gonna be crushed. It's gonna be funny.
For real.
You see,
Come on,
Trump.
man.
Trump is doing like 3 rallies a day, flying from state to state, and you're going to bed at 9 a.m. But you're gonna be the president of the United States.
For real.
Come
Or-
on, man.
but we know what's true, right? It's going to be a Harris. It's a Harris administration, together with Biden.
she did slip up and
She
say
did
that.
say- and Joe Biden said it himself.
That's funny. For real. Joe Biden.
Come on, man.
For real. One nation under. For real. Joe Biden.
Yeah. So this is the video of Nadler.
on this subject, not part of this package, but part of preserving our.
Oh, he ran off. I see that, yeah.
With that, I'm pleased to yield to the distinguished chairwoman.
He's running off stage, and she's like, where you going?
Yeah.
Where you at?
Yeah, that's right, Rebecca Marquardt. She wrote, come on, man, on YouTube. Shout out. Have everybody subscribe. Hit the like button, Rebecca. Come on.
Come on, man. For real.
Kind of got off topic there. What are we talking about?
Talking about the presidential debate coming up on Tuesday.
Ah, yes.
And
It's gonna be good TV.
It's going to be good TV. I'm
Good TV.
excited to see President Trump debate Joe Biden and see how this pans out.
I mean, if you're Joe Biden, what are you gonna say?
I don't know. What do you say?
That Joe Biden's gonna fix the economy? He's gonna defund the police? I mean, come on. This has been the most successful presidency in a very long time, even with a pandemic. It's I don't know. It's gonna be real hard.
Man, don't say that.
I have to laugh at all these people that seriously think Joe Biden is gonna win.
You think it's going to be a landslide?
Fix the economy.
I think it's gonna be a landslide as long as the mail-in voting isn't really a widespread thing.
Well, I've been hearing that a lot of votes
Oh yeah.
have been, thrown out, miscounted. As far as absentee voting and mailing
Yep.
voting,
They just found military ballots, 9 of them, all for Trump, discarded in the trash.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
and people will look at it. Oh, it's just 9. No, it's not 9 ballots. That's the 9 ballots that were found, and that's not 9 times wherever that's happened times 1,000 elsewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then on top of that, you have the USPS that's going to be doing these mail-in ballots. They endorsed Joe Biden. There was a tweet that I saw go out that there's an operative that's pretending to be Democrat working within the USPS, and they're starting to collect information that is saying that mail carriers who know that they are carrying Republican votes are purposely discarding those votes. In Wisconsin, they just found those mail totes with discarded mail-in ballots. So this is an issue. It really is, and that's the only reason, in my opinion, that there wouldn't be a landslide. Other than that, I mean, you see the enthusiasm, you see these rallies that are going on. People are excited
Yeah.
to reelect this president, and anybody who thinks otherwise is fooling themselves.
Come
And you know
on,
what?
man.
For real. For real. So, President Trump did sign an executive order. Did you see that? About Born Alive?
Yes.
See that?
Yes, I did.
And guaranteeing medical treatment to infants that survive abortion.
Yep. And I'm really interested to hear from the liberals of why you would be against that. So the baby is already born. It failed. The abortion itself failed. So the baby is born. It's alive. So why would you be against treating this baby that's already alive? That's still alive. I just
know.
don't. I don't. How evil do you have to be?
It's
to
not a
s-
human, man.
How evil do you have to be? But it's out of the womb, right? That's their whole argument is
It's still not a human.
if it's out of the womb, then it's no longer the mother's decision, right? The baby is its own. It is there. It's already out of the womb. The mother doesn't even have to have the baby. It can be adopted out. So why is it such an issue to give aid to these babies?
Mm.
You have to be some kind of evil to sit there and be able to listen to a baby cry until it dies. Some kind of evil to force that death, especially after it just survived your first attempt at murder.
That's murder, man. But they don't see it that way. It's a woman's right to choose. They don't look at it as murder. It's a woman's right to choose what.
Yeah, I understand that, but the baby is born. The baby's already out.
Yeah.
So at what point does that baby then have rights?
I don't know, man. I don't think they have any rights. I think they're still part of the mother's body if the umbilical cord hasn't been cut yet, right?
No, it's a bunch of baloney.
It's a bunch of. You sure?
Oh, I'm positive. It's a bunch of baloney even with the baby inside.
Oh.
But I'll look past that just for this topic.
Well, you know what? It's crazy to think that, people could get mad about this, and I see where you're coming from because it's saying, okay, if the baby does survive an abortion process, now they're entitled to medical treatment for that.
Which they should be.
Oh, exactly, and I would agree with you, but I'm also saying that if you are against something like this, you're probably still thinking that the baby doesn't have any rights and the baby is still liable. Just continue on with the abortion process. Why give medical aid at this point?
Yeah, but if the baby's going to be adopted at that point, what does it matter? It should no longer be the rights of the parents at that point. You already tried to kill the kid one time. Let the kid live now.
Comment what you think about this. Just comment that in the comment section below. And let us know what you think about this executive order that was just signed by the president. I think that it's fully capable, and I think that it should be. I think we should have medical treatment for babies who do survive abortion. I think that's just obvious. I think that's something that is a good thing. And if you're against something like this, I mean, come on.
What's sad?
What is wrong with you?
Exactly. What's sad is that we even need a bill like that.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah. That's sad.
So Rebecca did comment. Rebecca on YouTube wrote, this is Rebecca Marchand. They said that they say they are all for human rights, but yet they agree with murdering a child.
And you would be correct. Because they're not for human rights.
Right, because the whole idea of abortion is to get people to think that it's not an actual human being. I remember before I came to God, I was very liberal in my thinking, and I was taught that in school, and that's how I thought, was that this isn't a baby. It's just a couple of cells together, and that's it. It's not a baby until. But even at that point, I still even believe that once the baby was born, my goodness, at least it's a baby at that point, or at least up to a certain point where you could actually see features and things like that. Now, God has opened up my eyes to these things. Now I realize that is and I've done more research into it. That is a human being. As soon as the baby is formed,
Audio's coming back.
You know what? I think this has a bad connection, maybe. This
Yeah,
USB. Oh, there it is.
I'm hearing the sound. That went out a while ago. That was
It went out and then it came back in. I think it wasn't in all the way for some reason.
Yeah, so we just had some technical difficulties, so we apologize for that.
You guys always have technical difficulties. Jeez. All right, we back.
all right. So we talked about some interesting topics today. What were we talking about? Joe Biden and Trump debate. That should be fun. Coming up on Tuesday. Let's see what else we want to talk about. Okay. So, speaking of the debate, speaking of different opposing ideas and people debating, one of the things that was interesting that we talked about on Tuesday was a young man by the name of Ronald J. McCrae. And if he's watching, I just want to plug his book, Is God Who He Says He Is? And you can order that on Amazon. And the reason why I'm plugging his book is because Mr. McCrae actually migrated over into the faith. He's now a born-again believer. He loves God. He has a wonderful family, a nuclear family, a man and a woman. And some people will really hate that, but that's fine with me. And really what I'm trying to say is that he was changed. God changed him. There was a choice he made in his life, and he was able to change his ways and become a new creature, like the Bible says. And the reason why this is so important is because many people in leadership don't believe, as far as pastoral leaderships and different things, they don't believe people that God has the power to change people who come from that background, which would be the LGBTQ community or LGBTQ identity. That for some reason they're born that way, they don't choose that lifestyle, and there's no hope for redemption for them as far as the American church is concerned. So we have to bend the scripture, bend the gospel, well, really bend people's right to choose what they want in life. So I think Brother Ronald J. McCrae's book really explains his migration over from the LGBTQ community into the church community, into a place where he told us on Tuesday his testimony, and it was powerful. It was very powerful.
I'm gonna pull up his book so they can see it too.
And the reason why this is so powerful is because I got a lot of backlash the other day because of what I posted on Facebook, and I've really been pressing to talk about it here on the show. And if you want to go see that post, I'm just gonna see if I can pull it up really fast on my laptop here, just so I can quote it word for word. But pretty much all it said was, it said no pastor, right? So what it said. It said no pastor can support same-sex marriage, homosexuality, transgender, abortion, and preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I got a lot of backlash for that, which was expected. But that seems to be hitting a lot of nerves. And I feel like if we don't, rebuke or defend the faith in areas like this, and we brush it off, this is something you have to be persistent with. It's not something you can say one time and let it go. Because as you see, the way they're pushing these agendas, they're not letting it go. They're going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And unless you push back, you're just going to get ran over. So, what do you guys think? I got a lot of comments on it. I don't want to really get specific into some of the comments, but there was one that clearly said, one of the things I got was, I was a hateful person for being in disagreement with that lifestyle, and that I don't have any I'm delusional, you know, which is crazy to think because you can't disagree anymore.
So let me just pull up.
Change people, and God still has the power to really deliver somebody from what some people would say is irredeemable. But I want to know what you guys think. I'm sure you would say, yeah, of course God can deliver anybody, but I mean, some Christians, some people in the religious world today would say that no, they're exactly who they are, and we can't change that. God can't move.
Right. So I agree with what you said in the sense that a pastor can't be a pastor if he's not willing to preach the word of God. Okay? If you're cherry picking what you want to preach and don't want to preach, then you're not preaching the word of God. You're not being what a pastor has been called to do. But here's the thing with when you're preaching against homosexuality, transgenderism, and all that thing, you need to preach against it with the same fervor that you're going to preach also against adultery, cheating, sex out of wedlock, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what sin you're committing. You're all going to end up in the same place. So the problem with just always putting out homosexuality or going against sexuality, you have to group it together with other sin. So we have to be just as fervent against those that commit adultery, against those who are cheating on their spouses, against those who are having multiple relationships with women or men or whatever. It has to be grouped together, because what happens, Deshaun, is when you single out the gay community,
sure,
then it becomes a tool for them to say, "Oh, you're
attacking
preaching
me
against that lifestyle."
You're attacking me.
But what about the Christian that's sitting in the pew with you that has multiple girlfriends?
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? So, yeah, let's preach against it, but let's also be preaching against those who are not living a good lifestyle as well. Doesn't necessarily have to be homosexuality, but but going back to as far as can God change? Obviously, God can deliver anybody from anything. It doesn't matter what it is. God has that ability.
Yeah.
That's why we're in the church that we are in, because He's delivered us from something. Everybody sitting at this table has been delivered from something.
Mm-hmm.
It may not necessarily be homosexuality, but it could be things like porn. It could be other types of addictions.
Yeah.
It could be maybe not being faithful or trustworthy. So many other sins that it can be grouped with.
Yeah.
And years ago, I witnessed to a gay person that I used to work with, and that was a big criticism that they had, was that, well, you're talking about me, but what about the adulterer in your church that's sitting there? You guys aren't calling him or her out.
Yep.
So I think we should approach all sins.
I feel the same way.
Don't cherry pick.
Don't cherry. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think in this case, I mean, when you're specifically talking about this person or this particular sin, you're calling that out. Not that it is any more important. It's just you think in your mind that I'm attacking you because I'm specifically talking about that sin. Right. It's the same way if I were to say you're cheating on your spouse, or you're calling me out, or you're calling me out. Right. You know what I mean?
People
because at this point in
our
culture, it's not about sin anymore. They don't even believe it's sin anymore.
So that's my next point. So to be fair, though, on the other side of the coin is the reason why maybe we would tend to focus so much more on, let's say, the LGBT community sometimes. Not that you should, when you're a preacher, you should keep it all the same. But they're more radicalized in their movement where it's actually causing more impact on culture. What I mean is they're trying to change a lot of institutions with that sin. I mean, you don't see the adulterer really necessarily going out there and try to cause radical change that affects us as a culture and as a society, but they are. So their sin has much more of an impact on society. So, more so the adulterer does, but not in terms of it being this. It's all the same thing. It's sin. But if you are going to preach and preach so hard against something, you should not be afraid to preach against another type of sin the exact same way.
Oh,
If that makes sense.
Yep.
so we're just trying to be equal across the board as far as
Yes.
sin's concerned.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
homosexuality sin and some sins have a much more, as you can see, the homosexuality community, the LGBT, they're already trying to move down the line now. It's impacting other things. We're already trying to go down the route of pedophilia.
Right.
So it's that has much more of an impact.
Well, that's because people are afraid to talk about this. People are scared to push back because of all the backlash they'll get. And I say, if the church continues to take a back seat, you're going to see an influence of culture that we cannot overturn because God, or you've given place to the devil. You've given place to powers
Yep.
that we can fight. Does that make sense? And because of fear and because of the backlash, we allow the culture to be swayed in that aspect. And that's why you see people who look at the church as culturally irrelevant. That it has no relevance in today's society. And I think that's due to a lack of, how do I put it? Pushback. The church is not pushing back as much as the LGBTQ is pushing into the society, pushing into every institution, pushing into education,
They push
pushing
hard, too.
into every aspect
hard.
of life.
Right.
And as soon as I open my mouth against it, I'm hateful. Well, I don't care. I'm going to push back. Because if I allow them to continue to push, I'm just going to be sitting there like a bulldozer, just going to bulldoze right over.
So maybe when it comes to things like, so let's talk about schools, right?
Yeah.
So we know that the sexuality community is pushing into schools, right? They have, I think, history lessons now and all kinds of stuff. If they're able to force their way into the public schools, why can't we make a push into
Come
public
on.
schools?
Come on, somebody.
Isn't that a better way to combat them? As if we have that counterbalance?
Yes.
Hey, if they're going to offer a class on gay history, why aren't we having a Bible history class in schools? Because if they're forcing that down kids' throats,
Yes.
then why can't we force our beliefs, right? Because that's really a belief. It's their form of religion, right? And they're forcing it down kids' throats, trying to normalize it. So why can't we? Maybe that's the better approach, is that we should be more forceful in getting into education.
I'm just saying, fight.
Government.
You got to put up a fight.
We
You know
don't
what I'm
have
saying?
the culture backing us like they do. They got the culture.
You
got
got to put up some kind of fight.
So we would have to go against the grain. We just have to have people that have courage
Right.
and stick their neck
But
out there.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things, so what kicked off that whole storm with your post was the fact that the picture of the girl was of a girl wearing a shirt specifically targeting homosexuals. Now, had she walked in there with a shirt that targeted homosexuals, adulterers, cheaters, fornicators and all that, do you think she would have gotten the same backlash?
Yeah.
Same, yep.
I think she would have got the same because
Yeah.
our culture is sinful. That's what it is. So I think that regardless of what sin you point out, I think specifically for this sin, you're correct. I think because we've allowed the foothold and nobody's pushed back, you're going to get that backlash because you've allowed them to just go right in.
If she had walked in with a shirt that simply read, "I love God," do you think she would have got backlash?
No,
Probably no. Probably
that's
not.
a very generic term.
Yeah.
Because
need to
God
be-
can mean anything.
Yeah.
So if she walked in
Should
with a
allow
shirt that
Jesus.
says Jesus is God,
Yes.
would she have gotten backlash?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But specifically, when we target that, people will call you hateful and all these different things. They don't even know you. And really, all I'm just saying is just if you don't put up a fight, this is what's going to happen. The
Right.
culture is going to deem you culturally irrelevant. It's like somebody sitting at the table who never participates in the conversation, and nobody really cares to hear what you have to say because you've been silent so long anyways.
Right. Yeah, I've always heard the quote that if you don't make a choice, then you've technically made a choice. So if you never speak up against something, then you've sided with that.
Pretty
You
much.
got to be a John the Baptist. He's the closest thing to a protester I've seen in Scripture.
Yeah.
Right.
He called out Herod the king and he said, "Hey, you shouldn't be sleeping with your brother's wife," and he got thrown in jail for it.
Yeah.
So let me turn it on its head, because we believe in freedom of speech, obviously. So had she walked in with a shirt that said Jesus is not real,
Yeah.
would you be okay with that?
No.
Why not?
I would stand up for my faith. No, Jesus was a very real person. He was documented in history. He was real.
Okay. So what if she walked in with a shirt that says God is not real? Would you be okay with that?
No, I wouldn't. I'd be a little upset, but I wouldn't force her to take the shirt and tell her to leave.
Right. So what you're saying
That's going
is,
to cause dialogue.
so what you're going to say is you wouldn't be happy about the message, but
No.
you would support her right to believe that.
She can
Yes.
believe whatever she wants. Now, I don't have to be okay with that. I have every
agree.
right to be upset and angry with it, and I can totally disoppose it, and I'm not going to be violent, and this is what's unfortunate about people today. They feel like just because you disagree, I've got to be violent, I've got to insult you. No, I can look at you and say, that's absolutely false, and I think you just need to go home and,
Yep. Well, I agree. If I was in a setting where I saw a shirt like that, I would look at it and I'd either ignore them or just not. Honestly, I probably wouldn't care.
Mm.
That's just me personally. That's their right to believe that.
Yes.
Hey, you're a Joe Biden voter. Hey, go for it.
Come on, man.
But at the same token, if I want to wear a shirt that says Jesus is God, then you better just leave me alone.
Yes.
Know
So
what I mean?
this is the point I'm trying to point out, is that with those posts, all I was trying to do, the entire point, and simply put, is that I'm getting so much backlash for a reason. Why? Because nobody speaks out about it. So when you do, you have a lot of backlash.
Yeah.
So now it's like, if you don't exercise your freedom of speech, and even in the most radical ways, because they've been pushing that agenda for a long time and they've just been persistent. If you don't continue to say no, as soon as they get a foothold, it's gonna become yes.
You know
yes,
what's funny,
yes,
Deshaun,
yes.
is all those people that say those things. Had that girl walked in with a an anti-God shirt,
Yeah.
none of them would have commented on your post.
No.
None of them would have said that that's hateful or rotten against Christians. It's always a double standard.
Yeah, no. So, point being is you better exercise your freedoms, and you better exercise them and not care what anybody thinks. Because I tell you what, if you don't, they'll make sure to take them from you.
That's true. You got to overcome evil
With good.
with good and be strong against it,
Come on, somebody.
or it'll overtake you.
And you know what? I think the reason why the church is now culturally irrelevant, because if you're silent in the official positions, if you're silent in the government, if you're silent in other places, then you're going to become the person who, you know what? They don't really oppose it. They don't ever come out against us. So you know what? I think they're with us.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there are a lot of churches that are with them.
Yeah.
So
So, I think that pretty much wraps us up. I don't know if there's anything you guys want to add. This show was fantastic, phenomenal. And I just want to put a disclaimer here. For anybody who is a homosexual, anybody who's committing any kind of sins, all I was trying to point out is that it's sin, regardless. And you know what? Sin is sin. Regardless if you're an adulterer, if you're homosexuality, whatever it is, sin is sin. And really, if you want to argue with somebody, argue with the Bible, argue with God. But ultimately, I'm just saying I have the right to say what I believe. I have the right to express my beliefs, and nobody's gonna take that away from me.
We're not picking on you. God says that it's sin. It's not right. There is hope in Jesus Christ if you desire to be changed from that. And also, listen, you can stick with your opinions and your views on it as much as you want. All we ask is that we don't like that pushed on us. This is the wonderful thing about this country. We can coexist with each other and disagree and still love each other and do things on a certain level.
Yeah.
I may not agree with you, you may not agree with me, but I can't
Right.
force what I believe on you.
Yep.
And I can't, cause you to lose positions in life, affect your reputation or hurt you somehow because you refuse to agree with what I stand on. So
Facts.
that's what we're not picking on you. We love y'all. I've known gay people that I've been friends with at work or whatever for a long time, and they know where I stand.
Yeah.
And and in leadership too, it's also hard. The higher you get up, you start getting more diplomatic. It's hard to come against all types of sin the same way. I've seen this in leadership, in our own leadership, in our church. I would encourage those in leadership not to cherry pick what you come out against. If you don't feel confident to come out against something the same way you would with all things, then don't come out at all. Just stay in your lane. And if you're tempted to come out on something because it's convenient and easy, but you wouldn't come out on something that's hard, don't do it.
Right.
Just stay in your lane until you feel like you're in that position to stick your neck out there and come out against all things the same way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What did David say? Hey, Lord, fix my heart, fix my life so that I can go address sinners. So David wasn't ready to go out there and address sinners until he was right. So unless you feel like you could stick your neck out there for all things, don't come out, because people like me will call you out on it.
Big fact. And it's just not homosexuality, it's other things. And I was just trying to normalize the fact that homosexuality is sin, because in the culture we live in, it's not even looked at as that. The Bible is overlooked. Scripture is absolutely thrown in the garbage. And as somebody put, they'd roll a joint with the Bible's pictures. With pictures or
Wow.
So it's just to go to show you, if you don't push back, they'll just walk
Right.
all over you. You know what I mean? So
Well, yeah, it only takes a generation to lose out on your values and what you believe in. And God has been taken out of schools for how long now, and out
Yeah.
of the family homes for multiple generations at this point. So it's no wonder that most people don't know God. Most people probably don't even know who Jesus is anymore. I mean, it was just scary the other day just hearing about how the vast majority of millennials don't even know what the Holocaust was. A great percentage of them believe that the Jews started the Holocaust. So
Wow.
our public school system and the way that we've been raising kids up in this country is just messed up, and it clearly shows at this point.
yeah. Well, you know what? Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I think our next bit is education, because it seems like education is huge, and that has a major impact. We want to thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the 4 new subscribers. We've made it to 60 subscribers.
There we go.
See you guys. Thanks again.
Have a good one.
See you guys.